So right now I'm using a combination of my studio lights and natural lighting. I cannot tell if that is working to my benefit or not. So if you see a difference in lighting, that's why. So for this 2-pack, they come jam-packed with accessories. We received 2 stands and bases. I only have one up there due to spacing, and an assortment of goods for both characters. So let's see where to begin. So I'm going to start my way from the left and work right on over. So Bluto receives this hat. Zoom in a bit. I really like and I just noticed that the stitch work that's being shown right here. And it has a magnet up top so that it can be held in place on its head. And we receive 2 portraits of Bluto. This beat up head, like the vein here. And I really like this hair sculpt too. The ears are done well. Just a lot of attention to detail. You can see the eyes is closed shut. There's actual knot right here. Not a big bruise, though you can see it. Not sure if that's coming across well on camera or not. And moving on to Popeye, we received 3 portraits. So this head sculpt we've seen before. This is nothing new. We received a beaded and battered one. And I'm going to talk about both of these head sculpts more so in the design aspect. Now, the blood to me doesn't look so good, like the bloody ear. This doesn't look great. The nose is fine. Not crazy about above the nose. And the knot is as well. And then we receive an assortment of hats, 4 in total. 3 I think we received before. I think we had this hat. Definitely had this hat. And also had this hat with one of the 2 previous releases of Popeye. This, however, is new. And then just working down to the hands. The hands look good. You have scope work, vein work, and some dirt in the nails. I wish that it would be a little more dirty. I remember the previous version of Popeye had, I think, a decent amount of dirt in his fingernails. So let's move to Popeye. And here. Now, I'm not sure if the dirt is more prominent because the hand is a lighter complexion, and I really like this hand much better than the Bluto hand. This one appears to be more real. I think it's just the overall color variation of the hand. It almost a translucent effect to it, and I really like how this looks. So now moving on to accessories. So Bluto comes with some cool accessories. You receive this huge wrench, and it's made out of metal, and I love metal weapons. I remember when Hot Toys used to do this. Doesn't seem like they're doing this any longer. And it has a bit of weight to it. And then you receive this weight, dumbbell or dumbar, and this thing is heavy. It's also made out of metal. This is certainly one of my favorite accessories, I think simply just because of how heavy it is. Just something I really like about that. Then you receive this hook, which is cool, but it has to be probably my least favorite accessory. I just feel that it's not painted overall or particularly well. Like, I like this part of it, the handle, but I'm not crazy about this part. And this one is not metal, and I think being the other 2 are metal, I'm a bit disappointed with that one. Then we receive accessories from Popeye that we have received already. So these accessories are repeats. I wish they would have given us some new things. A can of spinach. An open can of spinach. A compass. I forget what you call this. And I didn't bother to take these out as they're so small and get lost. But you receive 6 pipes in total. 3 pipes that do not have smoke coming out of them, and 3 that do. And you receive a bag for Popeye, which we have received before, though I think it was in white. I don't believe it was this color. And moving on to the last of the accessories, you receive this really big coat for Bluto, done in a leather type material. So that's cool. And you receive 2 coats for Popeye, and I feel that we received this one before. And then you receive this raincoat, which is new. So for overall accessories, they did not disappoint. I'm going to give this 2-pack a 10 out of 10. All right, so I made a decision to relocate as the natural lighting was casting way too many shadows. The issue here is that I'm unable to get my studio lighting in the correct place necessary. So I'm still going to shoot the video. It just may not be as well lit as I would like it to. So for articulation, Bluto head is able to look up barely any at all. It's able to bury his own chin. It does rotate a full 360, and you get a great amount of pivot. So with the arm itself, is able to go up, I'm going to say about that much. Now, being that it's soft goods, I'm pretty sure you can find a way to get it to rotate a full 360, but I'm going to say right here it's enough for me. So now with the arm, doesn't appear, all right, there is no upper bicep cut. So then the next point of rotation will be right underneath the elbow. The wrists are also on a ball peg, so you can get them to move any direction you need to, as long as you just slightly move that hinge. The elbows are, this figure, stiff. Single jointed, bending in only that much. So now let's move to the torso. The torso is a solid piece. So it doesn't move back, doesn't move forward. Oh, I was about to say. All right, so you do have rotation at the waist. The legs go out about that much. You may can push it a little bit more, but this is where the fabric is tightening, so I'm going to stop. The leg is able to kick forward about that much. Backwards barely any. You do have rotation. It feels like there's an upper thigh cut. Underneath that, next point of rotation is the boot. The boot is able to go, oh, wait a minute, what is that? Boot is able to go that much backwards, that much forward. Okay, no toe articulation. And the knees are single jointed, bending in about that much. So for articulation, there are some limitations, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the functionality department. I don't want to unnecessarily make this video longer than it needs to be. So for articulation for Bluto, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. So Popeye is able to look way up. That is excellent. This is what we should have on flying characters. He isn't able to move his head down any, however. It does rotate. You get a good amount of pivot, some shift back and forward. For the arm, it's able to extend out. Great amount. You can get it to rotate a full 360, but I'm going to stop right there. You do not have an upper bicep cut. You do have a point of rotation directly under the elbow. Next point of rotation will be at the wrist, which is on a ball peg, so you can get his hand to go in any direction you need it to. Oh, I got scared. All right, let's plug this back into place. Okay, arm is back in place. So you have a single jointed elbow bending in that much. So now for the torso, you have, yes, a floating A and B portion. So with the upper, you're able to get good rotation. He's able to crunch back that much, lean forward that much, and you get great tilt or pivot. Using the combination of the two, he's able to go back a great amount, forward a good amount. You do have rotation at the waist and just great pivot. The legs are able to go out about that much before the fabric feels stretched, so I'm going to stop there. He's able to kick out. Let me see, maybe if I don't bunch the pants. He's able to kick out about that much. Foot is able to move back about that much. You do not have an upper thigh cut. Next point of rotation would be at the boot. The boot is able to go down that much, barely able to move forward, no toe articulation. Oh, I forgot the ankles with Bluto. So the foot is able to come in about that much. Not really at all, the same without. Oh, almost forgot there is no butterfly joint, the same with Bluto. And let me just show you the ankle articulation on Bluto very quickly. So for Bluto, you barely have any ankle articulation. It really doesn't move in and it moves out about that much. Knees are also double jointed, bending in that much. So for articulation, Popeye does what you need him to do. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. That would give the combined 2-pack an overall score of 6 out of 10 for articulation. So for design, Bluto is big and muscular how he should be, though there are some misses. Before we go to the head, now I think that the arms are a bit too long. I was able to find some images of Bluto and they just seem to constantly have him in different proportions. Some being a bit taller, which I think this figure actually could have been taller. Some showing the arms pretty long, some not showing it as long. So one absolute glaring issue for me, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, is the 2 head sculpts that we get. Here's the issue. Well, before I get to the issue, I think they both look great. They're done well. The line work, I really love this. And I wish Storm Collectibles would get more in the habit of giving us face sculpts that have continued expression throughout. But we're not here to talk about Storm Collectibles. The issue with these 2 head sculpts is that his eyes are closed. Both of his eyes are closed in this, which I don't understand. This is almost as if he's impacting to get hit. I want my Bluto to have open eyes. And this one that we have, the eye is barely open, and then this one is closed. So that's an issue for me. Neither one of these facial sculpts I want to keep on Bluto all the time. I want him to be menacing, but with his eyes like this, it's not that menacing. All right, head sculpts aside, just looking at the other figure, Mezco really did a great job with the clothing on this figure. You can see underneath his polo shirt, there's a white shirt, and you can see that the polo shirt is dirty, which it should be. This guy works on a dock. Also, the white is a bit dirty. Getting down to his belt, it's done very clean, making sure to paint the belt, the buckle and straps. And then the stitch work, and this is something that Mezco used to struggle with, is now getting to the point to where it's fantastic. It is just done so well. And you see that the dirt continues on his pants. He has brown shoes, so it would be hard to see a lot of the dirt. They are sculpted underneath, so I won't give them I won't make a big deal out of that. I almost failed to mention, you can see the buttons on the shirt. So just a very good job with this figure. So for design, I'm going to give Bluto an 8 out of 10. Before we get to design, I forgot to mention, now, one of the reasons his head is unable to go down is because it's sort of already here. But if you push this forward, it does go down. All right, so for design, I want to zoom in some. Slide him over here. And I am very disappointed. So we received 3 head sculpts. All 3 head sculpts are the same sculpt. And I'll tell you what I mean. So if you turn him this way, come on, Popeye, turn, turn, turn. The only difference in scope, this one has a hole in his teeth so that you can put his pipe. This one has the hole sealed, and this one has a very small hole. Aside from that, the sculpting is absolutely the same. The difference with here, of course, is paint. They just gave him a bruised eye and threw some blood. I'm very unhappy with that, especially given the fact that we've had 2 previous releases with Popeye, and all of those releases included the same head sculpts. So 3 versions of Popeye, and we do not get a different head sculpt. I'm absolutely deducting points for that. In addition to the head sculpt, we received 3 of the same hats. Come on, Mezco, you have to do better than this. And I'll say that part for the end. So for design, it's not my favorite look for Popeye. I like the street outfit that I have for him better, the jeans, and so on. But let's take a look at this. Very similar to Bluto, you have the button worked here, which looks very good. So Popeye doesn't seem to be as dirty as Bluto, though there are some areas that aren't super clean. Like his pants aren't dirty. They just have a yellowing to the color. Then you see his tattoo. So yeah, I don't think this is particularly the best version of Popeye that we've seen. So for design, I'm going to give Popeye a 6 out of 10. This figure is just not different enough. That will give the 2 a combined score of 7 out of 10 for design. So as far as being essential to your collection, Bluto is to Popeye what Megatron is to Optimus Prime. You can't have one without the other. So for Bluto, he is an absolute 10 as far as being essential to your collection. Popeye, on the other hand, we've already received at least 2 versions of Popeye. One having a very similar suit, I just think the shirt was white. What else makes it an issue for Popeye? You're really not getting any new accessories. So if you decide to pick one of the other 2 versions of Popeye, you're really not losing out, as this one doesn't come with a whole lot of new. Add that into the fact that you were forced to buy this just to get the Bluto. This figure comes in very low as far as being essential. I'm going to give Popeye a 4 out of 10, which should give the 2 a combined score of 7 out of 10 as far as being essential to your collection. So for functionality, let's start with the head. You really do not get the character to look up any at all. Aside from that, you do get good range as far as down and side to side. So let's just pop off the head, which actually comes off very easy, and place on the secondary head. So Bluto is a big figure, doesn't need to be put in dynamic poses. However, he is pretty limited as his torso doesn't move whatsoever. It is one solid piece. They could have done something about this, so that's very disappointing. Within his arm, there isn't a lot of range. However, I think you can make it work. There's also no functional butterfly joint as well. For his legs, They're pretty stiff. The entire figure is tight, which I prefer. I would rather my figures tight than loose. And then, other than the foot, no other point of rotation. But giving the lack of mobility in the legs as well as the torso is going to make it very difficult really to put Bluto in any, I wouldn't even say dynamic. I'm going to say any threatening poses. Right? Just to give you an example, it's going to be very difficult to get this leg out in front of the other. You can't really get him in a walking stance. That's going to be difficult. He can't crunch forward. So you're going to be very limited in what you're able to do with this figure as far as posing him. So Bluto comes with 3 pair of hands in total, 2 fisted, which are on the figure. You receive 2 open hands such as this, which you cannot use to grab any accessories. And you receive 2 hands like this, which are identical with the exception of one being left and right. And these 2 hands are to hold the weapons. So now let's see how that works. So with this particular hand, I think that this is going to hold the hook well. As you see, the small indent in between the fingers here. So I'm thinking that that's going to kind of sit. So let's get this checked out. Okay, so I was able to get this in. I simply pushed it from this end up. Make sure to lift that a little bit and then slide it through the fingers. And I like the way that he holds this. So focusing on the other hand, I have no question that this will hold the weight exceptionally well. The problem is the wrench, as this is a lot thicker than this opening. So I'm concerned with this. I'm pretty sure you can get it through, but it is extremely tight. All right, so he holds it very tight. We should have gotten another hand for this wrench, but it does work. It's not something that I would leave in his hand over time. So I'm going to remove that. And now using the weight, definitely out of the 3 accessories, he holds this one the easiest. It slips in the hand very easy. Now, it is pretty loose in the back, as you can see. So I would have liked to have a better hand to hold this, but it does work nonetheless. Now, to show you how the hands go on, pretty sure they're going to be tight. Not that bad. You have a large peg. There you go. So I just had the hat for Bluto. And it's held in place by a magnet. So I like that magnet touch. And as you can see, Bluto stands exceptionally well on his own. He is a very heavy figure. All right, so now to work on the part that I don't like is putting on or removing soft goods. So you can see that the coat has a Velcro strap. All right, let's get him prepped. I'm going to remove his hands. All right, so I got him prepped. I always find it easier to put the arms behind the figure and remove the hands. And essentially, we just kind of shimmy it. Put one side on, make sure that the other side is on as well. And this is going to be difficult because look how far apart his arms are spread. You see that? I'm definitely going to have to go off camera to get this done, as right now this is not working. Okay, there we go. The coat wasn't as hard to put on as I thought. Using the method of putting the arms together at the same time will not work. Being that they're so far spread, you actually have to put one arm in at a time, and then it's just enough space to maneuver the arm in. And once you have both arms in, the rest of it is pretty easy. So for functionality, there's the tale of 2 tales. The accessories work very well. The magnetic hat is a nice touch. The coat works well, which I thought was going to be a challenge. Even though we don't get the best hands to hold the weapons, they absolutely work. The head, the hands all change very easy. Now the issues is the overall body, the lack of movement. So for functionality, this score would have been a lot lower if it was not for the accessories included with this figure and how those accessories work. So for functionality, I'm going to give Bluto a 7 out of 10. All right, so for Popeye, let's start with his hats. So the very first of which has a magnet on the top, and you can see it stays in place. The second of which also has a magnet. The third hat does not contain a magnet, though it still fits snug, and it's probably my favorite out of the 3. For his 4th hat, I haven't put this on as of yet. I'm assuming that it goes something like this. So let's get him prepped so we can put on this coat. So I'm going to remove the hands, which pop off pretty easy. I'm going to put the arms to the back like so. And I'm going to put one arm in at a time. This is my preferred method. And you see, unlike Bluto, how the hands sort of collapse, they're not so far, the arms collapse, they're not so far spread apart. You can sort of shimmy this. And then just get it to work. So I'm just going to go off camera to fix this up some. So anytime with the clothing, what you want to do in order to put the hands back on is to try to get this up as much as you can and simply plug the hand in place like so. So there's an issue with the coat and the hat. So what I had to do was bend this collar down in order to get this to sit properly. If not, it just continues to rise, and it doesn't do a particularly good job of staying flat. And for the stand test, you can see that Popeye stands. Just like Bluto, his hand is on a ball peg, so he's able to move his weapons up and down. So for hands, Popeye comes with 7 in total. The pointed, which you've seen on him, the fisted hands, which come in package. You receive 2 similar hands like this, and then you receive 2 hands like this. So now let's see if these hands work. So first, let's try the bent spinach can. So he's able to, let me lift that up. He's able to hold this in hand. It's not particularly tight, but you can get it in there without falling. So while it's not the best hand, it gets the job done. He does come with this can, and as you can see, this is a bit too tight, so you can get it in there, and he holds it very tight. So this isn't bad at all. I do think that the hand should have been a little wider, but this works. Let me not complain. Okay, and now for this accessory, not sure which hand is better suited for it. With this particular hand, you can sort of get him to hold it. I had it a little bit better than that. If we get him to hold it like this, you do have another hand, which this one you can, let's see. You can force it in between his fingers and get him to hold it like this. But then you can see that the thumb covers the part to where he's supposed to be looking out of, so that doesn't work. Maybe if you... That's a little bit better. I don't feel that this hand is made for this. I think that this hand is made for the compass. Something like, let's see. Something like that. And I'm okay with this. This doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm fine with this. All right, and the accessory I absolutely didn't even want to open. Let's just see how these pipes work. So let's zoom in a bit. You can see on the side of his mouth, don't worry, I will turn him. There's an opening, so you just take this. It is very brittle, so be careful. That's why they provide you with 6 in total. And there you go. There's the man. All right, so let me strip him down and remove his clothing. All right, so let's remove the head. Simply pull up. That comes off easy. And plop on one of his 3 heads. And there you go. And if I haven't showed it already, the arm or the hand goes in just like that. So Popeye comes with one last accessory, which is this bag. So it has a drawstring that you can use to tighten it. Now that's cool. That's really cool, actually. Now the issue is that it's hard for him to carry him. The string isn't really long enough to tie again, so it doesn't really leave you with a lot of room on what to do with it. So while I like the drawstring, I just wish it was another strap or something so that he can properly carry it. So I'm just gonna loop this open in around his fingers. It's off camera, don't worry. And of course you can find a way to get this to look better. I'm just sort of through with this video and just want to give you an idea of what it looks like. So for functionality, certainly the weak area for Popeye will be the ankles. He has a fantastic torso, the arms are decent enough, and the legs give you a good enough range of movement. Now, why the hands don't work particularly, rather, let me say this. The hands weren't meant to work with the accessories individually. However, you can get them to work. With the exception of his coats, his cloth goodings really doesn't limit what his body's able to do, and that's always fantastic for an action figure that has soft goods. The raincoat hat is a little problematic, but nothing worthy of deducting a point for. So for overall functionality for Popeye, I'll be giving him an 8 out of 10. That should be a combined score of, I forgot what it is, so just look up, that's the combined score. Before we dive into pricing, I just want to mention that this was a very difficult video as there were just errors. Issues with lighting, issues with shooting wrong parts of the video. I don't know how this is going to all turn out during the editing portion. Hopefully it's not too difficult for you to watch. So now for pricing. This 2-pack comes in at a whopping $170. That's before taxes, that's before shipping. Adding taxes, you're looking about $187. So this figure is pretty much sold out everywhere. I did not pre-order it. I managed to find it at a retailer I've never shopped at before. My order was essentially canceled and I actually had to pay extra for this. So I paid $200 for this, which is $30 more than its original price. Add in taxes, I paid about $220 for this. Shipping was free. I'm just sharing to give you a breakdown of what this figure actually cost me. However, I will be sticking with that original $170 plus tax price. So now, is this worth the price of admission? So let's see what it comes with. Let's be clear, the drawer for this is Bluto. We've already had 2 releases of Popeye, and I'm pretty sure most collectors could have done without another version of Popeye. What could have been included with this is Olive. And there's no question in my mind that Mezco is going to release another 2-pack, probably with Bluto and Olive. Now, I don't have any confirmation of that. This is just a guess. So now for pricing, you can sort of separate the figures. I'm going to assume that being Bluto is a larger figure, he's at least $90, and maybe the Popeye came in at that $80 price mark, or maybe even Bluto was $100 and then Popeye came in at $70. The issue here is that I don't want the Popeye. I just would have rather paid for Bluto. The fact that I'm forced to buy 2 figures, which I already have a version of, doesn't make me happy. Aside from that, both figures come with a lot of accessories, especially the Popeye. However, it is accessories that we've all seen before, with the exception of the raincoat and hat and this bruised face, I think, though that could have been included as well. Now with Bluto, there are, should we say, some issues. First and foremost is the body. It is just problematic. It barely moves, which as far as standing is a great thing, but as far as getting this figure into almost any pose is going to be very difficult, and it's going to take really a skilled photographer to be able to pull off some great shots with this. Another glaring issue is the head. We received Bluto with closed eyes. I don't understand why they included both head sculpts with his eyes closed. One of the things that I wish they would have also included with Bluto was a hand that could actually wrap around Popeye's neck, or a hand that came with Popeye's neck attached to it that you can peg in here, but you don't. And while I can keep going on about things, this video is long enough. So for pricing for this 2-pack, I'm going to give the 2-pack a 7 out of 10, which should give this 2-pack an overall Cliff score of 44.5. So now, is this 2-pack a pass or a purchase? Because Bluto, and you need Bluto, it's a purchase, and that's the only reason. All right, let's do some size comparisons. Let's slide Popeye over. So here is Popeye by his lonesome. Here he is next to another Mezco figure. Here he is next to Mezco Space Ghost. These figures don't stand. Here we go. Here he is next to Mezco female character. Have not reviewed this as of yet. Actually, I haven't reviewed any of the figures that I've shown, but this one I will be reviewing soon. Here he is next to another Mezco female figure, Catwoman. And I just opened this figure, even though I had it for some time. And just to give you an idea of a big figure next to Popeye. And this is the McFarlane Warhammer. All right, let's remove both. Let's put Bluto here. Okay, Bluto by itself. Here he is with another Mezco figure. Here he is next to a Mezco female figure. Come on, Harley. You get the point. Here he is next to Mezco Space Ghost. Here he is next to McFarlane Thomas Wayne Batman, which I will be reviewing soon. You know, I keep saying soon. I'm going to say before the year is out. And here he is next to McFarlane Toys Warhammer. And they're about the same size, almost in height. Let's remove that. Here he is next to NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Forgot their names. Here he is next to Marvel Legends Kingpin. Here he is next to Marvel Legends Strong Guy. And last but not least, here he is next to Marvel Legends Red Hulk. So, thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. I hope to see you during the next review.